Hey YouTube, my name is Natalie. I'm a criminal defense attorney and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be another one take. Again, not my preferred format, but it means that I can get the content out to you guys while I'm dealing with my very annoying computer issues. So today's video is going to be about the Alec Baldwin shooting that occurred on the set of the movie that he was filming called Rust in the state of New Mexico. So I'm going to give you guys some background on this case and then also give you guys my legal analysis of it. And also kind of give some of my personal opinion of the controversy surrounding this situation. So this occurred in Santa Fe, New Mexico, on the set of a movie known as Rust. And apparently it's a low budget movie. I think the budget for the movie was $6 million, which comparatively is pretty low for a full-length feature film. And Alec Baldwin is a producer of the movie as well as one of the actors. Apparently, he was handling a gun on set when an assistant director on the film named David Halls said that the gun was a cold gun, meaning that it did not have live rounds in it, and he fired the gun, shooting the director and killing a cinematographer named Haina Hutchins, who was 42 years old. The 48-year-old director, Joel Souza, would survive. The cinematographer would not. And there has been a massive uproar over the situation, of course, as well as an investigation that has now occurred as a result of this shooting. So there are a lot of questions here from many people about how something like this could have happened and what, if any, legal responsibility anyone would have as a result of this situation. So my understanding from reading several articles on the issue that are more up to date is that this gun was one of a few other guns that were used on set as props. Now, just because something is a prop does not mean that it's fake. So, you know, you could have a hat that's a prop on the set. It's still a real hat. So they use real guns as props on movie sets, which I find to be very strange personally, because there are already incidents in which people have been shot and killed by guns on set, most notably Brandon Lee on the set of The Crow. He was killed by a prop gun that had debris in it that ended up hitting him and killing him. So I thought that they had changed that in Hollywood, their regulations as far as using real guns are concerned, but apparently not. They have more safety procedures in place to avoid things like this, and apparently those safety procedures were not followed here, but they do still use real guns. So as far as the safety procedures are concerned, the gun was supposed to be filled with blanks, but apparently one of the bullets in the gun was a real bullet. According to the investigation that has been done thus far, investigators have spoken to Dave Halls, who's an assistant director of the film. He told a detective that he should have inspected each round in each chamber for whether or not they were blanks versus real bullets, and he did not. So he failed to inspect each individual round. He advised that he should have checked for all of them, but didn't, according to an affidavit, which was signed by Detective Alexandria Hancock of the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office. He was the one that told Alec Baldwin that the gun was cold, but in fact, it was not cold. The gun was a revolver, a .45 long Colt. It contained one live round, and the gun went off as Mr. Baldwin was rehearsing a scene last week, Thursday, which ended up killing the film cinematographer, Haina Hutchins. So apparently the projectile that was in there was a lead projectile, so a bullet. And and it was recovered from Mr. Souza's shoulder. So they were actually able to pull the bullet from Mr. Souza, the person who survived, his shoulder, because I think it went through Miss Hutchins and then hit Mr. Souza, and they were able to recover it and see that it was an actual live round. And Mr. Halls actually admitted that that was a live round. So that's not in keeping with their procedure as far as maintaining guns on set is concerned. How that live round got in there is beyond me and not borne out by the evidence that we know thus far. So the sheriff for this county, Sheriff Mendoza, said that investigators believe they recovered more live rounds on the film set at Bonanza Creek Ranch, and that they would be sending some of the ammunition they seized to the FBI. This is a problem because apparently there are not supposed to be live rounds on movie sets. There's regulations against that. So you can have real guns, but you're not supposed to have live bullets on a film set, but there were live bullets on the film set. The Santa Fe County District Attorney, Mary Carmack Altwies, said that they could potentially pursue charges against people on the set, including, you know, the people that, the armorer that was supposed to handle the gun, the producer, Mr. Baldwin. People could potentially be charged. She won't say for certain whether or not they will be. She's waiting for the evidence to lead her there to say whether or not she's going to have a prosecution. So at the center of this inquiry that a lot of people have been very interested in is the film's armorer, who is the expert who is in charge of the guns and, you know, any weapons that are on set. Her name is Hannah Gutierrez Reed. She told a detective that no live ammo is ever kept on set. But obviously that's not true because live ammo was actually on set. Whether or not she put it there or someone else brought it there, there was live ammo on set that was recovered, more than just the bullet that was taken from Mr. Souza. And according to the sources, Miss Gutierrez Reed is 24 years old. And this was only, I think, the second film that she had worked on. She gave an interview in which she said that on a podcast last month, in which she said she was very nervous working on her first film set, but that everything had gone smoothly. And this was her second film set. So she handed the gun to the producer. The producer declared that it was cold. And then the producer handed it to Mr. Baldwin. And then Mr. Baldwin shot the gun. Apparently there had been a lot of unrest on the set of this film. People were walking out. There were protests amongst the workers because of the conditions there. So that's also a factor to consider, that it seems like it was a bit of a chaotic scene as far as this film set is actually concerned. And that there had previously been a firing of a live round on the film set, which is not what's supposed to happen because there's not supposed to be any live rounds there. So a live round was actually fired. Excuse me. So the gun is supposed to be under lock and key at all times before it's used. However, it seems like the gun was out and accessible for an hour while people were out to lunch. So, you know, anything could have happened with the gun at that point. Maybe someone could have maybe been playing around with it and put a real bullet in it to maybe do target practice or something, put the gun down, and then they didn't check it. And then Alec Baldwin shot it, and then that's what happened. Mr. Halls says that typically Miss Gutierrez Reed, the armorer, would typically open the guns for him to inspect, and he's supposed to check the barrel of the gun for obstructions. And he says most of the times there's no live fire. I don't think there should ever be any live fire, but whatever. And she opens the hatch and spins the drum, and he says cold gun on set. So this time she opened the hatch, but he does not remember her actually spinning the drum so that he could see all of the bullets or the blanks or whatever they were supposed to be, and he just declared cold gun on set without looking through all of the entire barrel to see that there were blanks in each of the places where the bullet would go. It was not clear exactly what he meant by that, according to reporters, but basically it seems as though he did not follow proper protocol, and it seems as though Miss Gutierrez-Reed did not follow proper protocol. Mr. Hall said that when Miss Gutierrez-Reed showed him the gun before they continued the rehearsal, he only remembered seeing 3 rounds, but there were at the time of the shooting 4 rounds, and the 4th round was the live one. Mr. Hall said he picked up the gun from a pew inside the church and took it to Miss Gutierrez-Reed after the shooting, and that when she opened it, he said, according to the affidavit, he could see at least 4 dummy casings with the holes on the side and 1 without the hole. So dummy casings have a hole on them to indicate that they're dummies, that they're not live rounds, and live rounds don't have that hole drilled into them. So there was definitely the casing of a live round left behind. So again, people say that there shouldn't be any live ammunition on set, but there were about 500 rounds of ammunition that had been recovered from the set, including a mixture of blanks, dummy rounds, and what the sheriff department believes is live ammunition. So there shouldn't be any live ammunition, but it was present on set according to law enforcement. So people have scrutinized Mr. Hall's as well as Ms. Gutierrez-Reed in the weeks that have passed since the shooting, or the days that have passed since the shooting. And in particular, in Mr. Hall's background, he has worked on films on Fargo, Matrix Reloaded, so he has a lot of experience in the industry. But he has had several complaints lodged against him over the years about safety issues in general. He was fired from a movie called Freedom's Path in 2019 after a gun unexpectedly discharged, causing a minor injury to a crew member. And there were at least 2 accidental discharges of a gun on the set of this movie, Rust, before the fatal shooting that happened when Mr. Baldwin shot the gun, when Alec Baldwin shot the gun. And that was according to former members of the film's crew. And remember, I told you people had walked out of the movie over protests over the conditions of the film. The New York Times and several other, news sources have tried to reach out to Mr. Halls, but he is not cooperating and responding to them. I shouldn't say cooperating, but he's not responding to media inquiry. Now, Miss Gutierrez-Reed, as I said before, is relatively inexperienced in comparison to Mr. Halls. She's the chief armorer, but she had only experience on one other film. So that's kind of the factual background of the safety issues that are on set. I know if you know that guns are not my forte. There are other channels that really delve into, guns and what it means when a gun is not loaded versus loaded. But what I do know as far as the industry standards are concerned, there's not supposed to be live ammunition on set. And not only did that gun have live ammunition in it, allegedly, there also was live ammunition elsewhere on the set, and 2 accidental firings of a gun on the set of the film. So it looks like from the get-go, this film was destined for some type of injury or issue with how they were handling these guns. So as I mentioned previously, Mr. Baldwin is a producer on the film. So he's not just a hired actor. He also has a hand in, the conditions of the film and hiring and firing as a producer. I don't know what his stake is. He may not be, have 100% stake in it. There's other co-producers on the film, but he does have a hand in it. So I would think he would bear some level of responsibility for ensuring safety on the set. So I'm going to just look at what potential charges could result from something like this. I am not saying that charges will come as a result of this case. I'm just saying that charges could come as a result of this case. Not that they will, just that they could. And so the first charge that I wanted to look at is manslaughter. So I don't think that murder, first or second degree, is a possibility here, because I don't think that anyone acted with the actual intent to kill anyone. Instead, I think this was more along the lines of negligence. So in the state of New Mexico, which is where this took place, their manslaughter charge is codified under New Mexico statute 30-2-3, manslaughter. Manslaughter is the unlawful killing of a human being without malice, meaning that you didn't have to have bad intent in killing that person, but it was otherwise unlawful. And I'll jump down to B, which is more relevant to this case. Involuntary manslaughter, which is what I think this would be closer to fall under, consists of manslaughter committed in the commission of an unlawful act, which we don't have here, not amounting to a felony, or in the commission of a lawful act. So what they were doing was lawful. It may have been reckless and dangerous. It may have been outside of industry standard, but it wasn't against any particular laws to have live rounds on set. So it wasn't unlawful behavior, but it was lawful, which might produce death in an unlawful manner or without due cause or circumspection. So I'll read that again. Involuntary manslaughter is the killing of another person in the commission of a lawful act which might produce death, or in an unlawful manner without due caution and circumspection. So here, obviously, someone's death did result from this incident. And I think that they were doing a lawful thing, which was shooting the gun on set, having the gun on set. That was lawful. But they did it, I would, say from the armorer to the producer and potentially to Alec Baldwin, potentially, I'll talk more about that. But that string of people were doing that activity, and it is known that there is a possibility of death when handling a gun, and they did it in such a way that was without due caution. So it is not practicing due caution to look at a gun, not spin the chamber, not make sure that every single bullet is a blank, and then tell someone it's cool or it's cold, you can shoot it. Not it's cool, it's cold and you can shoot it. So that's not practicing lawful. That's not practicing due care and caution, and therefore it led to the death of another person. And so I definitely think Mr. Halls could potentially be on the hook for an involuntary manslaughter charge. I think there could at least be probable cause for that. I think that the same thing extends to Miss Hannah Gutierrez. I think that because she is the armorer, and it appears as though she's telling law enforcement that there's no live rounds on the set, and there is a live round, not only on the set, but in the gun itself, that she did not practice due caution in doing her job. Like, unless someone snuck the live rounds in under the cover of darkness, and there's no way she could have potentially known, which of course would be a defense, it definitely at least gives probable cause for her to be charged with the offense of involuntary manslaughter, because someone died as a result of her lawful action that could have caused someone's death, and that action she executed without due caution or circumspection. As far as Alec Baldwin is concerned, I would take a pause with whether or not he could be charged with anything, manslaughter or otherwise, because there may be that additional hurdle the prosecution will have to reach, because he was informed before he took the gun that the gun was cold. He was told the gun is cold, so then he would think, oh, it's fine. I'm safe. I can fire this gun because the person that I've entrusted to tell me the gun is cold has told me the gun is cold. It's gone through those 2 layers of checks. I'm good. So that could obviously be a hurdle to the prosecution bringing any case against Alec Baldwin. The issue being twofold. I guess arguing against that defense, right? The issue could be twofold. The first issue would obviously be that as the person that handles the gun, you're always responsible for checking the gun. It's still a real gun, right? I don't know if Alec Baldwin would have known what a live round looks like versus what a blank looks like. It seems like there is a designation to know what the blank is. I don't know if he was in possession of that knowledge or not. And I don't know if the law would say you need to be in possession of that knowledge because you're the one that's handling the gun, or you don't need to be in possession of that knowledge because the company that hired you to do the job takes on that responsibility, right? So I'm not sure how that would turn out. It's very nuanced and interesting. It's just something for you guys to think about. And it's why legal issues are not clear cut. They do have a shade of gray to them. There's a gray area here where it's not really clear where his criminal liability lies because someone did tell him that the gun was not live. Should he have checked it? And is that failure to check it tantamount to acting without due caution and circumspection? Would it get them to the level of involuntary manslaughter? The second hurdle that the defense for Baldwin, or the other side of Baldwin's argument, is going to have is that he is one of the producers on the film. So it's not like he was hired to just act, and he has nothing to do with safety measures on the set, funding, hiring staff, working conditions. It's exactly the opposite. He does have a duty of care to the staff and a duty of care to everyone on set because he's one of the people that's producing, aka paying for, aka hiring those that are doing this job. So does he have an employer's liability and duty of care, and therefore is his breach of that duty of care tantamount to involuntary manslaughter because he acted without due caution or circumspection? Again, not clear cut for any of these people, but I think that it's more clear that a claim could be made criminally against the producer and the armorer. Just, those are my thoughts on that. Now, as far as civil liability is concerned, I think that's a lot easier. I think that anyone that had a hand in producing this film, right on up to whoever the top company is, right on down to anyone who invested $1, anyone that had a hand in the production of this film is going to be liable for the death in this case, because they had a duty to make sure that the set was safe for those that were there. They had a duty to ensure that standards were being followed. Those standards are in place in order to protect people. The breach of the industry standards doesn't have any criminal liability to it, but it does have civil liability because it will show the state of mind of people that are breaching their duties. And there's certainly negligence that's involved and a duty of care that's there, meaning that they owed a duty of care to the people that worked on that set. And by breaching that duty of care, not carrying that duty of care out, people were injured and one person was killed as a result of their actions. So I do think that there could be a civil case for, negligence and not intentional infliction of emotional distress, because I don't believe that the actions were intentional. I think they were negligent, but some negligence-based claims could definitely be brought here. I would be surprised if this case actually ended with a civil trial. More than likely, the family of the victim and the family of the director are going to receive a settlement payout from Alec Baldwin and any other producers that, were over that film. I really don't think that they would ever get to the level of, if they even got past a lawsuit. If they got to a lawsuit, even that would surprise me. I'm pretty sure checks are being cut right now as we're speaking, because I think that the civil liability is just beyond obvious. The only question really is, what if any criminal liability could arise? And I will say this final word or final thought. When I first heard about this case last week, before I knew a lot, that's why sometimes I like to wait, I thought immediately, oh, there's no way that Alec Baldwin is criminally liable because it's not his fault that someone gave him a gun and said that the gun was cold. But the more research that I did on the 4 warnings that they had, that there were some issues, especially with regards to weapons on the set, and when I learned that he was a producer on the film, it definitely changed my opinion as to whether or not he could ever face any criminal liability whatsoever. But I would love to know what you think about this case. And I look forward to talking with you guys in the comment section down below. I really enjoyed our discussion on the last video. Take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.